So the UK AIDS Memorial Quilt is like a significant piece of social history. So during the early days in the 80s and 90s when lots of people were passing away, friends and family of people who'd passed away started making a 3-foot by 6-foot panel to commemorate them. So it's things that are special to them and what reminds them of them. And the significance of the sizes is that it's the size of the average grave. So each of those panels is then connected to other panels, and then one of them is classed as a quilt, and then those quilts are then connected together. So it's a really big piece of like social history. It's a Nobel Peace Prize nominated piece of community artwork. It's the largest piece of community artwork that's ever happened. It started in America, and then we've got our own UK AIDS Memorial Quilt as well. So each of the panels that you can come and see at Kitchen Street from the 1st until the 5th of December is all made by the friends and family of someone who's passed away. So it's really significant. So this is massive. So basically it's only exhibited in municipal buildings, in museums, in like government buildings and things like that. And the main reason why we're wanting to bring it into 24 Kitchen Street in a club setting is to, one, make it accessible. There's a lot of people who might not feel comfortable going into those environments and might not feel comfortable visiting them in like you know, big government buildings and museums and stuff like that. Try and make it a different space, make it more accessible for people. And two, to get more people who go clubbing to come and see these things. So there's a lot of queer people who don't know about it, and that's quite a massive privilege to not know about the reason why we have such things as like HIV treatment. We've got to a stage now where you can take PEP or PrEP and take treatment for being HIV positive and live a happy and healthy life. So it's important to know about the early days and the struggle and the hardship and the pain, and to know how far we've come now and to be educated about that. So it being in a club kind of cements this whole idea of like queer music, queer culture, and also the history behind it and why we have these things and why it's important. And also in terms of like health as well, like we want loads of young people to come and see it and to be aware of their history and be aware of their legacy, and to be aware of like how they can connect with it, because there's a lot of stories like all of these people were people, like they were alive at one point, they had lives, they had dreams, they had aspirations. So it's really important for us to be able to connect that and to humanize that and to humanize the stories behind it as well. So for the past 6 months, we've been working with Sahir House to do a whole outreach project. So Sahir House have been going since 1985. They do educational stuff, they provide support, they do everything to do with HIV, and they work with Public Health England and the government to be able to put together big northwest-wide support for anyone who's got HIV. So working with them, we wanted to provide more of like a bespoke outreach to an audience that we already have. So 24 Kitchen Street for the past 8 years, like part of the strand of the strength of the stuff that we do is working with the queer community and club culture. So for the past 6 months, we've put on some workshops. So the workshops were led by a HIV positive artist called Graham Lavery, who's associated with Sahir House. So these workshops were free to attend, and friends and family of people who've passed away could come and make their own panels if they hadn't made one already. We're also doing an exhibition at the Open Eye Gallery on the 3rd of December. So pictures from those workshops are going to be exhibited at the Open Eye Gallery alongside a film premiere of My Message to You, which is by another HIV positive artist called Roberto Tovar. He's based in London, and his whole thing is the Latinx community and HIV representation in the Latinx community. So he's told the stories of 5 people, Latinx in London and the Northwest, living happily with HIV, and their stories and how it happened and what happened. So we're doing those 2 things as well. Also, we've got a big, huge fundraiser for Sahir House. We did one in June, and we're also doing one on World AIDS Day, which is the 1st of December. So we've got three performers. We've got Lucia Blake. Lucia Blake is a Scouser. She's from Mughal. She lives in London now, but she set up Trans Pride. She founded it, and she also founded Harpies, which is the first queer strip club in the UK, to my knowledge. Also, we've got Anticlimax. She is mother of the House of Eat Me, which are a queer cabaret collective that are based in Liverpool. They're going to be doing like a bespoke performance around HIV and how far we've come. This is all going to be hosted by David Hoyle, who's a Manchester-based performance artist, who's just a powerhouse, like amazing person. We also have a live artist called Severus Hine, who's German. They're going to be doing stuff as people are coming in. That's going to be more like a static, like painty thing. So we've got a performance element, we've got an art element, and then because it's Kitchen Street, we have a music element. So we're going to have Sonic Youther, our resident DJs that are on once a month. We are going to have DJ Paulette. We're going to have Bonsai Bonner from Shoot Your Shot in Glasgow. I think that's everybody. But yeah, we're doing that. So we've got the World AIDS Day fundraiser. We've got the 3rd of December, which is Open Eye Gallery. And then from the 1st until the 5th, you can come along to Kitchen Street throughout the day. We're open from like 9 until 6. And you can come along, it's free, and you can like connect with the artwork in any way that you feel fancy. Yeah. So, in my opinion, the importance of World AIDS Day is that there is still loads of stigma surrounding HIV and the education behind it. So, the reason why it's important is to understand that this was a global issue and still is. There's loads of people who don't have access to treatment. So, it's important for people to like acknowledge the history, to know what happened, and also to know how far that we've come. It's also important to commemorate all the people that passed away, whose lives were a catalyst for change and the reason why we have treatments, successful treatments where people can live happy and healthy lives who are HIV positive now. So the significance is that it's a worldwide thing that affected the whole world and still is affecting the whole world, but we're not all at the same level, basically, of access to healthcare. So it's important for people who live in this country where we have the NHS to, you know, try and get that for everybody. Yeah, so me personally, so my birthday's on the 3rd of June, and halfway through the year, Sahir House do an event where they have the quilts and they have positive speakers. So I always go on the 1st of June as like just a commemorative thing, just to try and like, you know, have a bit of like routine about it. So I've always been, and it's always been in like the Liver buildings, which are gorgeous, or like museums and places like this. And after watching It's a Sin, and you kind of like saw the realities of how mistreated people were at their most vulnerable. People were like away from their families, they were dying, and they were treated so poorly that I thought it was important for people to connect with that on like a personal level, like I had. So for us to be able to bring this into a club setting that I used to, before I worked here, used to come to all the time. It's a place, as a gay man, I feel very, very comfortable and very, very safe here, because of the work that Kitchen Street has done over the past 8 years to build this organic and trustful relationship with the queer community. It's really important to be able to like bring those two worlds together, and I'm hoping that by people coming and seeing this, they can then do more and work with Zahir House and, you know, engage with a little bit more activism and, you know, kind of just tell the stories and try and keep it alive. There's a huge issue within queer history, which is that most of it is spoken. We don't have many things that are physical. We don't have many relics. We don't have many artifacts. It's not something that is stored because it's not something that's like cherished or seen as history, queer history. So this is a big example of what we can do So it's kind of like pushing that narrative forward of how powerful queerness is, how powerful the gay community is, how powerful LGBTQ plus people are, how we can literally change the world if we choose to. So yeah.